Love is a bridge of hope, a bridge of healing, bridge of encouragement. Tell me what you feeling, feeling inspired. Just wanna go higher. Oh, live your life, shout it out, lift yourself. L.O.V. We are 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 L.O.V. Love is a bridge of hope, a bridge of healing, bridge of encouragement. Tell me what you're feeling, feeling inspired. Just wanna go higher. Oh, live your life, shine out and lift yourself alive. L.O.V. We are L.O.V. We are L.O.V. We are L.O.V. Ladies of victory, you know who it is. And let everything you do be done in love. We are L.O.V. Hey, I like that. I like that. Hey, let's go, ladies. Let's go, ladies. Let's go, ladies. Love. Love is a bridge of hope, a bridge of healing, bridge of encouragement. Tell me what you feeling, feeling inspired. Just wanna go higher. Oh, live your life, shout it out, lift yourself. L.O.V. We are 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 L.O.V. Love is a bridge of hope, a bridge of healing, bridge of encouragement. Tell me what you're feeling, feeling inspired. Just wanna go higher. Oh, live your life, shout it out and lift yourself alive. L.O.V. We are L.O.V. We are L.O.V. We are L.O.V. Ladies of victory, you know who it is. And let everything you do be done in love. We are L.O.V.
Hello, love. It's been a minute. It is your founder and CEO, Khadijah Davenport, on this Tuesday evening at 9 o'clock for this book chat. We are talking about this book right here, When Women Pray by T.D. Jakes. And boy, oh boy, these 10 great women of the Bible we have read about last month, we're going to chat about them over the next 3 Tuesdays. So let's get started. Usually I have Love ask questions, but I'm going to ask you guys the questions this week and next week and the week after to see who's read and what you read, because I want to get an understanding of your comprehension of why these women are so great that we've read about in this book. So let's get started. Are you ready? Are you ready? Comment so I can see who's aboard. Comment so I can say hi. Comment so I know who is with us tonight, because we are not going to be before you long, because we're going to get through chapters 1, chapter 2, and chapter 3. And the women that we're talking about are Hannah, Mary, and Sarah. So even if you have not read this book by T.D. Jakes, you should know about those 3 women: Hannah, Mary, and Sarah. So let's get going, ladies. Let's start with the first question. So our first chapter talks about Hannah, right? What was so extraordinary about Hannah? This is a book chat, so we have to interact, because if I'm just chatting by myself, it's not a chat, it's just a personal conversation. Hey, April, how you doing? How you recuperating from your momcation? Hey, Riri, how are you? Hello. Hey, Jamie, how are you? Do we have anybody else that's joining us? Let's get ready for these questions. Social media team, can you possibly just scroll the question that I asked? Hey, Joe, how you doing? Thank you for joining. Anybody else, let me know that you're joining us. Pop in, comment, answer questions. This is not just a female thing. This is a book chat about when women pray. And it's so important that we join one another in prayer independently and collectively so that we can move forward and do kingdom work and kingdom business, right? Nobody is perfect. We weren't called because of our perfection. So let's get going. First question is about Hannah. Okay. She didn't let it be April. She didn't give old girl the business about being mocked for not being able to have a child. Yep, that is a fact. Hey, Toya. Let's go. So if you read this chapter or you know the story of Hannah, I want you to comment on the things that you do know. This is not a right or wrong type of thing. This is for us and those that believe and don't believe, just to get an understanding of when women pray, right? Hannah was a praying woman. As a matter of fact, the book starts off with who saw Hannah praying and thought she was actually drunk outside of the temple. Who was that? She lived with unfulfilled longing. Yes, let's go, love. That's what I'm talking about. Name some of the things that Hannah endured. Name why she is the first woman that we're talking about in this book. Let's go. You got to type a little bit faster than that to stay on board, guys. Let's go. What are some things about Hannah that we know of? Hannah was a wealthy woman. Her husband was well to do. We know those things. We know these things about Hannah. What else do we know about Hannah? Hannah had servants. Hello. What else? Hello, hello, hello. Why didn't Hannah have any children? Waiting for y'all. Waiting for y'all. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. Grace, humility, and she trusted God. Absolutely. One of the things, she was married to a wealthy man. Absolutely. What else? What else are some things about Hannah? What was she longing for? She had one unfulfilled desire in her life. She had everything else. She had riches, she had wealth, she had servants, she had nice things, she had all of these things, but there was one thing that Hannah did not have. What was that? Why she was out there praying and crying. Hannah was barren. Absolutely. She wanted a child. Absolutely. She wanted to have a child. And so the story in the book starts off with Hannah weeping and crying outside of the temple, right? And she's crying and weeping so much that she's looked at as being a drunkard. How embarrassing is that, right? Has anybody assumed that you were being or you were something that you weren't just based on their perception of you from afar, not knowing what's going on? Is that true? With anybody else? Because this is real lifetime. So this is what we're talking about. How does that parallel to your life? She was barren. She wanted a child. Absolutely. So what happened? Thank you, Doreen, for answering that. That question was, how does this parallel to your life? She was thought to have been drunk outside of the temple. She was assumed to have been drunk. Have anybody ever judged you, prejudged you in your life based on what they thought the perception of what they thought was going on in your life? That's the question I'm asking all of you guys that are out there. Has that happened to anybody? I know it surely has happened to me, but I don't know. I can't speak for everybody else. Has that happened to anybody in your life? What other thing happened to Hannah? What about the women that mocked her for not having a child? What is that called? Being provoked? Yeah, that's another thing, right? Has anybody ever provoked you? All good questions to kind of ponder and get an understanding of. in your life, and how are you supposed to respond versus how you how you do respond, how we're supposed to respond versus how you do respond. So how did Hannah respond to this provocations of other people and all the things that she endured, just wanting a child, just desiring a child? What did she do? We're going to finish up with Hannah and go on to Mary. What did she do? What did she believe? I mean, there's enough people on here to answer questions. Come on, y'all. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Let's go, let's go, let's go. What did Hannah do day in and day out? What did she do? All the time, April said. What eventually happened with Hannah? Sorry, I'm trying to keep this down. People misjudge, provoke, all these different things that people do to you in your life, right? And how are you supposed to respond? Because we can't always give people the business. That's pray. Yep, Hannah kept praying, and that's what we're supposed to do. What else? What else can we do? There we go. She believed that God could perform a miracle and bless her with a child, and she promised God. It happens in his time, right? She never gave up. She never lost hope. She got, what's the word? I can't think of the word. Somebody help me with the word. She got discouraged at times, but she never gave up hope that God would fulfill her desires and dreams. Has that ever happened to anybody? Where you just were at the brink of giving up hope and God sends somebody to reignite you and give you life beyond what you thought. And for her hope was the prophet, right? And he said that you were going to have a child, and he told her the time and everything. And did she believe him? She had to have believed him. Faith. Yeah, that's the word. Faith. 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 Faith, 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 faith. The size of a mustard seed. That's it. She had faith. She believed. The prophet came, told her what was going to happen, and boom, bam, boom. The next year, she had that baby, and she named him what? Dun, 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 dun. What did she name her son, guys? It's very important. Who was Hannah's son? Hello. This is way too slow for me today. Come on. I can't give the answer. Samuel. Thank you. As we conclude this chapter, that was her son, and we know the lineage of Samuel, right? And as we conclude this chapter, it indicates in the book, when women pray, God brings about new life. That's the conclusion of chapter 1. So let's get chapter quickly so that we can get through these 3 chapters on today. So the second chapter talks about Mary. Mary. What was so phenomenal about Mary, the mother of Jesus Christ? What was so phenomenal that we read about Mary in this book? Anybody? Quickly. We've been doing book chats for a year. We know what to do. We know how to write. We know how to type. We're not going to wait on anybody. We're not going to be slothful. We need to get these comments on here and get going because we only got 30 minutes. We're not going to go over our time. So, ladies of victory, you know what to do. Let's go. We are the examples. We should not be slothful in a book that we've read and understandings that we've had, right? And teachings that we should know of. She was a virgin mom. Absolutely. How in the world is that possible? How is that possible? How can she be a virgin? Highly favored by God. Absolutely. Tell us the story a little bit about Mary. What happened with Mary? Mary was a teenager, right? And she was approached by the angel Gabriel that said, what? You're going to bear the Son of God. But one of the things that we don't talk about is that he asked her first. Go into your scripture. She was asked if that's something that she would partake in. And she said she would do whatever the Lord is telling her to do. Now, I believe that Mary was a beautiful young woman. I believe that Mary was something worth having, and that Joseph had he got the best of the best with Mary, right? But how do you go to your husband who you've never been with and tell him I'm about to have a baby? You know what could have happened to Mary at that point? What? Tell me what could have happened to Mary at that point. Quickly. What could have happened to Mary at that point when she went to her husband and told him that she was getting ready to have a child? Anybody? She could have been stoned and killed, because there's no way on the face of this earth you're going to come to me and tell me that you haven't been with another man, right? Could have told everybody. She could have been ostracized. She could have been beaten. All of these things could have happened to her. But she had faith enough to go to her husband and be honest with him about what's going on. And the only thing Joseph could do is what? Only thing he could do is accept it and believe God that this is the truth. He could have done like other men, right? He could have just dismissed her. He could have went about his business, but we wouldn't be where we're at right now for those of you that believe in Jesus Christ and the story of his life, his birth, his death, and his resurrection. So she only knew that she would birth the son that she knew one day would show miracles and that one day be crucified. I don't know if Mary knew that he was going to be crucified initially, actually. I think Jesus knew, but I don't know if Mary knew that. I just think she believed that she would bring forth the Messiah. So Mary, yes, absolutely. So Mary's job was to carry Jesus Christ and bring him forth, right? Absolutely. What was some other characteristics of Mary so we can get through? I'm not trying to rush you guys through it, but I want to make sure that we get through this. What were some other characteristics of Mary, the mother of Jesus Christ? Did she back down from God? What did she do? Was she timid? Was she a scaredy cat? I think she was a boss. That's what I think. I think Mary was a boss. And even as a teenager, she was a boss. She looked good. She probably had a great figure. She was the bomb.com. And Joseph was something else to catch her. She probably didn't even want to marry Joseph. She didn't get the choice in the matter. I'm just saying, that's just what I think. That's not a fact, but I'm just saying, if she could choose anybody she wanted to choose, and she's this wonderful hot mama, she was having a hot girl summer, and then she was impregnated by the Holy Ghost, messed her up real good. But do you think she wanted to choose a carpenter? Hello? Okay. I don't think that she would have chose a carpenter on her own either. So I'm just saying, when you look at what it is for what it is, look through and dissect everything. All right. All right. What is some more characteristics of Mary? You guys are slow tonight. Come on, ladies. I know it's 9 o'clock. It's Tuesday. We're all sacrificing to be here. But I'm glad for those that are here and are on board, because we make this sacrifice because this is what we said we wanted to do. So we engage and we love and we participate and we answer questions and we throw things out there so that we can get other people to be a part of this chat, because it's been so helpful and wonderful for us as women to come together and understand these wonderful characteristics of these women that pray. I think it's just coming over slow. Oh, I don't know. I can't see. She had tenacity. Yes, she did. Absolutely. Very good. Any other comments in regards to Mary? I think it's important. Anything else about Mary? Any characteristics that you guys kind of want to throw out there? I'm not going to answer all the questions. I've read the book. Anything you guys noticed from what you read or something you took out of this chapter that maybe you weren't expecting to learn about Mary? No, I don't think they're coming through. I don't see no comments, Toya. I see the times they come in. I see them all. They're not coming in so quickly. She was brave. She was courageous. She was a fighter that refused to give up. I see all of those. Absolutely. Those are all wonderful characteristics. Very good. Absolutely. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. Absolutely. And at the end of the day, TD Jake says, when women pray, God brings reconciliation and redemption into the darkness of the world. That's Jesus Christ. For those of you that are believers. All right, let's go to the last chapter. Part 1, chapter 3. We're talking about Sarah. We know who Sarah is, the mother of all nations, right? Sarah, Sarah, Sarah. What was so significant about Sarah? Mary was also trusting to God. Absolutely. Absolutely. What about Sarah? This is the last chapter. We're going to get through this chapter in about 8 minutes. What was the story of Sarah? Why is Sarah significant in the Bible? Dun, 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 dun. Sarah's the mother of many nations. Sarah was married to Abraham. Yes. What else? Sarah was a kind woman. Sarah was a woman of authority. What else? What was one thing that Sarah didn't have? She was an elderly woman without a child, but had the desire to have one. She was promised a child in an old age. Yep. What happened that's significant with Sarah and her husband? This is very important for us as believers and women. What happened? Does anyone know? She was married to Abraham. Yes. What was important? What's an important thing that we need to well, yes, thank you. They tried to help God. I need that point to be put out there. They did it themselves. So they put a time limit on God. So it's not that she was just an elderly woman. She was a woman, and God said that she was going to bear a child. She did not bear a child in the time frame that she and her husband felt that she should have bore a child. And so what did they do? They took matters into their own hands and had her slave servant, Hagar, sleep with her husband to bear a child named Ishmael. This is what we're talking about. How many times have you taken matters into your own hand instead of waiting on God to do something? So her faith came not with the fact of being elderly. Her faith came because of what? Because they didn't have that faith. They took it into their own hands. So she had Hagar to have her baby. Ishmael came. And then what happened? Was that a wonderful connection? What happened? This is dead silent. Oh. Knows the story. Sarah was, nope, that's not part of the story. That's not part of Sarah was blessed. Nope, that's not part of it. She was mad. Yep. And what did Hagar do? No, Sarah despised Hagar. Not Hagar despised Sarah, because Hagar thought she was the bomb.com. She had a baby because Sarah couldn't have a baby. She mocked her. She ridiculed her. She thought that she was better than Sarah, even though Sarah was the one who allowed her husband to lay with her to have the baby. So what ended up happening to Hagar and Ishmael? This is important. She prayed to God. Yes, she did. And what happened after she prayed to God? This is very important. This is for you guys to get a better understanding. If you didn't read these chapters, you need to go back and read them, because see, what we're not going to do is regular Bible study, because regular Bible study is for religious folks. You read and you dissect and you understand, and then you go to the Bible as well to understand in that capacity, because a lot of times people don't even understand the Bible. So when it's broken down to help, those are the tools that you use, and you go back to the Bible to get even more of an understanding and break it down. And then you get a concordance to break it down even more. And then you get a study Bible to break it down even more. This is just layman's way of helping, layman's terms of breaking this stuff down. But we should know, we as women, we as warriors should know the characteristics and the stories of these great, vast women of the Bible, to instill wisdom and to have an understanding of what we should do, what we shouldn't do. They're not all great because they did everything perfectly and they were perfect women. They're great because they understood God and they kept going despite life circumstances, and they kept doing what they needed to do despite what was going on around them. That's what you need to pull from this, not that you're just reading another book. Understand the principalities of what's going on and why these women are so significant. There are many other significant women in the Bible, but these 10 right here, these 10 help us to be better at being women, to be better at being mothers, to be better at being wives, and what we should do and what we shouldn't do. And these are things that we all need to have an understanding. This should be part of your archive of books. Now, as a believer, as a woman, as a mother, because these are things that we can all take from. And so I hope with this, concluding with this chapter that we're going to end with, that you guys understand the sacrifice that we all make to be a part of this, right? To do the book chat and to have this interaction with one another, because with society and COVID and all this stuff, we've lost that. So we have to make sure that we reconnect in ways that we have the ability to reconnect, and sacrifice the 30 minutes to get on here and chat and have your questions and answers ready so that we can have a fulfilling, engaging chat, because I can't chat by myself. I'm doing this for y'all. I didn't even want to do it tonight. But I did it because I was asked to do it and I made a commitment. And so I need y'all to make a commitment to me to be here and turn out and show people what you know. This is our time to stand up and stand together as women and understand this is only to help you. This isn't about me. This is for us to learn together and flow together and be walking parallel together and get a better understanding. Because if everybody had it together, right, we wouldn't need this, right? If everybody that went to church had it together, if everybody that went to church had it together, we wouldn't have such divisiveness, such chaos, such drama, such lies and manipulation. We would be able to be real with one another, because that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be real. We would be able to be real with one another and tell your sister if she got boo-boo on her face, you would be able to tell her. If her skirt hem was off, you would be able to tell her instead of talking about her. Right? If her eyeglasses were crooked, you would be able to help her. If her hair was messed up, you would be able to help her instead of talking about her. So these are things that we have to build as women to be strong enough in ourselves that we can reach out and help somebody else without making it this big broadcast of what you did for somebody else. So even though that wasn't the premise of it, it still is something that we have to understand in ourselves. Each one of these women had to die to themselves to be what God has called them to be. Not what they wanted to be, not who they thought they were or who they thought they were going to be, but who God predestined them to be. And I want you guys to leave on that now and understand, who are you supposed to be? What are you supposed to be doing? What lives are you supposed to impact? What is your ministry? Because if you don't know those things and you've been in church all these years, then you know better than someone who doesn't know God, because you're supposed to learn and move forward and have fruit. And if you don't have fruit, then, and that is the honest to goodness truth. It's time out for playing church, y'all. It's time out for playing church. It's time out for religiosity. It's time out for that. You got to learn to be honest with yourself. And if you can't be honest with yourself, you sure as hell can't be honest with nobody else. I said it the way I said it, how I said it, when I said it, and when I wanted to say it. So that you guys have an understanding of, this is not just a church thing. This is a woman thing. This is a human thing. This is a us thing, so that we can do better and be better collectively. Period. That's it. Nothing else, nothing more. I didn't come on here to preach. I just came on here to teach and make sure you had an understanding of what it is that we're doing. That's the main thing that we're doing right now. I want you to get an understanding. So we're going to be back here next Tuesday at 9 p.m. with the next few chapters. We're going to talk about chapter 4. I'm going to go to my book so we make sure. So nobody can say they didn't know. We're going to put this out here. We're going to talk about 4, the woman with the issue of blood. Chapter 5, Naomi. Chapter 6, the Samaritan woman. And chapter 7, Esther. Those are the next 4 chapters we're going to talk about next week. And then 2 weeks from now, we're going to talk about chapter 8, 9, and 10. So I challenge you to come ready to read and have some information. 4, 5, 6, and 7 is next week. 4, 5, 6, and 7 is next week, because I want you to be able to get a revelation on your own of this book and the things that we're learning together. Believe me, we could have just done this on Zoom, but there's somebody that needs to hear the things that are being said in the comments and get an understanding and know that you are worthy. You are where you are, how you're supposed to be. God just wants you to be the best you that you can be. I'm in agreement with that, because we can only be who we are called to be. We can't be like everybody else. And so these 10 women in this book showed you they're all uniquely different. They all have a testimony, but at the end, God was still glorified. And so I want you guys to understand that. Come back next week. Don't run away. Don't get upset. It doesn't take long to read these chapters. It might be 10 or 15 minutes, maybe 30. You can do it on Audible if you want and listen to them. I suggest Audible and reading them, because the sound of the author reading, well, not the author, but you know, the author is not reading the book. T.D. Jakes is not reading it on Audible, but you get what I'm saying. The sound of it is totally different than you just reading it on your own. And maybe, you know, your eyes aren't as strong as they used to, like mine, or maybe you just don't feel like reading. There's an alternative for you to listen to it. There's team no excuses for you not to be able to be a part, unless you just choose not to. But these are some powerful, powerful women, powerful, powerful stories and outcomes for each and every one of these 10 women. So join us, please, next Tuesday, 9 p.m. on Tuesday. We're going to be live here. We're going to be live on YouTube. And I look forward to your interaction. Invite somebody, share. We want as many women a part of this as possible. And then we'll talk about our next book for next month and during the summer, just to keep our minds stimulated, because this is so important to keep this stimulated. Because if we don't keep this stimulated, guess what happens? We start internalizing and thinking things, and we think we're hearing from God, and it's just us talking to ourselves in our subconscious. That's the reality. It goes for everybody across the board. Everybody across the board. So ladies, let's go. Let's do a better job at engaging. Let's do a better job at reaching out. Let's do a better job at sticking to the plan and being committed to something that we asked to be done. Let's do a better job, okay? And remember, as we get ready to close, what's my favorite saying? Let me make sure that I say the close of TD Jakes with Sarah. And I believe it says something about hope and joy. When women pray, they find hope and joy in unexpected places. Let everything you do be done in love. Peace, y'all. Have a good night. Love you. Next week, same time.